guys, it's Quana back again with another This Is Us review. Hope you guys are doing awesome. Guys, we made it. This was the 100th episode of This Is Us, Season 6, Episode 12, Katoby. We all made it to the 100th episode, so brava. Also, I want to just say thank you to all of you who subscribed recently. We have made it to 300 subscribers over here. So I just want to say thank you to everyone who's joined me for all of my This Is Us reviews. I appreciate you guys so much. I look forward to our conversations in the comments every week. And I know that this show has taken us on so many emotional roller coasters, and tonight was no exception. So before we get started, do me a favor, and if you are joining me for the very first time, welcome. Thank you so much for being here. Hope you will stay. And if you happen to like this video, please hit the subscribe button and the like, and join us over here where we talk about This Is Us every week. Fingers crossed. So yeah, Katoby. I think, we all knew that this was coming for quite some time. We didn't really know what was going to be the end game with Toby and Kate, and this episode gave us all that and a little bit more. And I kind of wish they had held back a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. Let me just say up front that Chrissy and Chris did a phenomenal acting job this week. Like, they just hit it out of the park. I felt all of their emotions so much. Chris Sullivan, he's one of my favorite actors. He also has an amazing voice. If you've never heard the Hadestown soundtrack, not the Broadway cast recording, but the off-Broadway recording, he's on there. He did all of the demo stuff for playing Hermes, I believe. He has a phenomenal voice. So I just think that they hit it out of the park with the acting this week. But the show gave us a lot. First and foremost, we are taken straight into that time jump where it is Kate's wedding day. Now, if I recall correctly, this time jump was 3 years into the future. So 3 years from where we've been, that would put little Jack they've been playing kind of fast and loose with his age, but I'm going to say that that's going to place him at about 8 years old. Baby Haley at about 5 years old or so, maybe 6. The twins at about 6. And during this time, we know that we have future Senator Randall, Pearson. We have Kevin, who has started the Big 3 construction company. Pause. Did I mention that there were spoilers in this video? If you have stumbled into this video by accident, please hit the like button, make a U-turn, and come back after you have watched tonight's episode. Thanks. So yeah, we just know where everyone is. And the one thing that we didn't really know is we didn't know concretely, what was going on with Kate and Philip. Was Philip really going to be married to Kate? What's going on? And we get a lot of questions answered because first and foremost, we get a phone call where Toby calls Kate and says, "Remember what you said on the day of our divorce." And it takes us straight into flashback, flash forward, flashback, flash forward. I do feel like they played very kind of fast and loose with the time jumping in this episode. We are taken to Kate and Philip's engagement party. We're at the kids' birthday parties. We're at a point in the future where Philip was about to propose. We're back in the past with Kate and Toby struggling to work on their marriage. It was a lot. I literally had emotional whiplash in one sense watching this episode, trying to keep the timeline straight. I feel like we stumbled into the Marvel cinematic universe, the multiverse a little bit, and trying to keep all the threads together. So right after that, we get taken to, I want to say it's right after that we get taken to Philip and Kate's engagement party, where we get to see an aged up Randall in the height of his political campaign. We get to see Kevin, who is dating a random Trojan commercial girl. Pause. in the recap. I'm sorry. What are we doing with Kevin? What are we doing with Kevin? Because I think I said this a few weeks ago in the Kevin episode. Like, Kevin has come so far. He has matured away from the threesomes and the random girls and the, rushing headlong into relationships. And obviously, you do find your significant other by dating, but like in this episode, we see that he's just dating these random streams of women. I think, excuse me, because I misspoke. It wasn't the Trojan commercial girl at the proposal dinner or the engagement dinner. It was the Allstate or State Farm girl. One of them. Yeah, it just, I don't understand what we're doing with Kevin, because it's literally like with Kevin more than any other character, it's like he takes 5 steps forward and then he slides straight down to the bottom. Like he's not 2 steps back. It's not one. It's like he is on a slide down backwards. I don't get it. I don't get what we're doing with him. One of the important things that we see in this episode is that Sophie is there with her husband. She and Kate have reconnected. We see her off to the distance. She didn't really have any lines in this episode, and she got a guest starring byline. So we definitely, that lets me believe that we're going to see Alexandra in one of the other episodes playing Sophie and perhaps reconnecting with Kevin at least one more time. We don't know yet if she's going to become his wife in the future, but it's possible. I mean, at this point, I'm not going to take anything off the table. And we get to see Kate and Phillip singing to Uba Stank. Like, love it, but I don't, it's one of those songs that I feel like I can only listen to it if it is the band singing it. I can't listen to like random people singing it. It just doesn't carry the same finesse. And we're going to keep going with that. Okay, so then we go back into the current timeline. Again, I use that term very loosely. And we get Kate and Toby, and Toby has quit his job in San Francisco. He's moved back to Los Angeles. He is trying to make it work. They are in therapy. They are trying to do what they can to make it work, and it is just not working. And it gets to a boiling point where they finally go to have dinner together. There's lots of microaggressions going on, a lot of temperaments. I think Toby gave up some things that he really loved in order to try and make it work. And I don't think that you ever really lose when you try to make your marriage work better. But I don't know that they ever acknowledged that before they even dived into therapy. He had given up all those things and then they did therapy. And I just don't think that that was a good decision for any of them. And they keep making these same mistakes where they're just not talking to each other nicely and actually talking out their issues. Then we get the new big three, Kevin's twins and little Haley's birthday party, and that's where Kevin is there with the Trojan girl. What are we doing with Kevin, people? I don't understand. This is a lot. It just felt like a lot of like step back, step forward. Intertwined with all of this episode, you're getting Kate and Philip's romance unfolding. Their first date, they go to a Mexican restaurant. Then they talk about, what do you really see in me? And then we get this sob story about his ex-wife and the fact that his ex-wife wasn't really his ex-wife. He's a widower. I didn't know that he was a widower. So if they said that earlier, that was a shock to me. And the fact that they were trying for IVF and it wasn't working and she was going to leave him and then she gets killed. Again, please don't come for me. This is just my humble opinion. The acting was great. I just really wish that Kate has never been my favorite of the Pearsons. I think that everyone who has been here with me before, you guys know that. But I think I would have rather had just Kate and Toby and not try to intertwine Philip and Kate's relationship, with Kate and Toby's relationship, because there were moments where it was blurred, where I couldn't tell if they were kind of dating and she wasn't really divorced, and that was kind of swampy. And then they still never addressed the fact that that is her whole literal boss. Like in 2022, where are you still doing that at? Like HR would have a complete field day. And did anyone ever acknowledge that? Like, was that ever a conversation? Like, oh yeah, HR wants us to sign these papers to say that I did not coerce you into dating me and thereby soon to be marrying me. It just felt honestly, it just felt overwhelming. And I get why they were layering it that way. They were layering it that way so that the episode itself wouldn't feel so heavy with the breakup of Kate and Toby. But there were nice touches in there that I think if they had just lingered on those nice touches, the episode didn't need to be cut in that way. And I almost would have rathered they just split the episode, give us the Kate and Toby storyline. And there's a moment when they go to start the divorce process and they go into the elevator, and Whitney Houston's I Will Always Love You is playing in the elevator. And they're both laughing at the irony of that song playing as they're going through their divorce proceedings. Had the episode cut there, perhaps you ended Kate and Toby on that nice little note, or they could have even just contained all of the episodes of Kate and all the sequences of Kate and Toby together, end with Toby saying the line of, of Kate saying, this is not the end of our story. This is the end of us, but this is not the end of our story. And you never know what the future will be or whatever. And then Toby saying, I just don't see it. And then fade to black, time jump, and then get her and Philip's relationship, or Philip and Kate's story, or something like that. I just feel like for me, because I've been on the fence with Philip, I've not liked his character. He just kind of feels like the guy who's next door, who she just kind of knows. And I don't feel like I really got a chance to see like any chemistry between them. I think it's also like, it is hard going up against Kate and Toby, because there was so much chemistry between Kate and Toby early in that, like, you knew he wanted her and he was like going after her and wooing her, and we didn't get to see that. And we didn't even really get to see like a natural progression. Really, it wasn't like they were friends and then one day they looked at each other. There's obviously a very like, we're gonna go out on a date now, and we didn't get to see any of that unfolding. So I feel like all of those natural moments that would have like made it not feel forced, they just weren't there for me personally. They just weren't there. And that storyline with his wife, that didn't really help. Like, I think that was just such a melodramatic ploy to pull us into him and make us feel sympathy for him, instead of just having us fall in love with the way that he loves Kate and the way that he supports Kate. So I didn't like that. There were just a lot of moments through Kate and Toby's fighting sequences where I felt like they were intentionally trying to paint Toby as the villain, but I could definitely see Toby's side of it and how he felt belittled and felt like he was always chasing Jack Pearson. And I think it's a little dishonest. Like, a lot of people are upset by that line. How dare you besmirch Jack Pearson's name? Keep Jack's name out of your mouth. All of that kind of stuff. But if we're being honest, that has been a theme in their relationship since the beginning. Like, he's constantly been chasing Jack Pearson. Like, from the very first moment that he wanted to, that they watched the Super Bowl together and kind of found out about the whole thing about the Super Bowl and Jack, or not getting a dog and her not wanting to get a dog because of what happened. Like, constantly in their relationship, there have been these moments where they have come literally up to the idea of like Jack being this looming presence over Kate's life, and then Toby needing to chase after that to break down her barriers in order to make progress with her. So I think it's disingenuous if we are upset with him for saying that line. I think that line needed to be said. It needed to be said because she can't go into the future relationship with that baggage of Toby or the baggage of Jack. She has to let that go. And I think that's why I'm a little disheartened that we didn't just get an organic storyline. At the end of the episode, we get to see them sign the divorce papers. We get to see her engagement. We get like a little montage of her engagement to Philip. Philip showing or talking to Jack Damon about, proposing, and Jack Damon encouraging him. We get to see Toby getting invited to dinner with them. The MVP of the night goes to Toby when he goes to meet with Philip and they're watching football and he's talking to him about, you're going to be around my kids and this is what I expect and this is what I want you to do. And they're having that moment, that bonding moment. And then he goes to say, you're getting ready to marry Kate Pearson and you don't know about football. And he goes to teach him about football. That was, to me, the MVP moment of the night. That and the elevator scene were the moments that could carry the episode. And I think even if they had dialed back on giving us Kate and Philip's relationship and still had that scene, because we obviously know Kate is going to marry Philip, they could have still had that scene, but left all of those other moments to unfold in a Kate and Philip episode. I think that would have been a little bit better to me personally, because I just still don't feel like I know them as a couple. Like, I feel like I'm not really rooting for them. I really don't care. And even later on in the episode, we get several flash forwards where we get to see them all aged up significantly, where Jack Damon is now a young adult and he's singing and Philip is just there. And it's like, okay, Kate got remarried. It makes me worried and concerned for like the feeling that I'm going to be left with as the show ends, as it pertains to Kate and as it pertains to the Pearsons and the care that I feel for this family, because here now we've added this new member to the family and I don't really feel an investment. I think one thing that I might have left off mentioning is that during or after during the montage, we get to see what goes on with Toby. First of all, we get to see, early in the episode when they're going through the divorce, him getting this horrible apartment, which juxtaposed to the nice apartment that he had in San Francisco, and then the house he wanted to buy looks very crappy. He eventually buys a home and furnishes it and tries to make the best of things, which is great that we get to know that Toby's in a good space. It does make me question earlier sequences, and we know that they play kind of fast with loose with time, but like the earlier sequences of the time jump when we saw Randall putting in a call to Toby to tell Toby to come, and it very much looked like he was in a bachelor pad. It looks like he wasn't married. It looked like he was going through a depressive state and that maybe he was struggling. And then in this, they're trying to affirm that, no, that's not what's going on at all, that he's actually happy and he's fulfilled. And he meets his future wife fairly early, it seems as though, because he calls, Kate on her wedding day and says, I see it now. And my assumption, based on the way that they've spliced the episode, is that he's met her already and started dating her already. And that's how he's able to see that there's a brighter day, their story's still going on. So it was just a lot. It was, like I said, acting was top tier. It was sad, you get the little nuances they get right, so like that they put in there, that they take their time on, like Rebecca struggling to say Philip's name, Miguel looking concerned about that. Those things, they hit out the park every time. But I don't know, it was just a lot, guys. It was just a lot of, I just don't know where Kate and Kevin stand. Randall seems fine. He seems secure. I would be surprised if we get any other storyline of Randall other than perhaps like him running his campaign and maybe what that does for him storyline, or if we see any other bringing in his other family. But I think the way that they seem like they're going with the show is that the remaining episodes will just be dealing with wrapping things up with Kate and Kate's wedding to Philip, finding Kevin a wife, and then Rebecca. I feel like we're done with Randall, which is sad because I just feel like the pacing might be problematic as we go towards the end of the episode. End of the season. So it wasn't my favorite. I probably won't watch this particular episode again. I don't know. I just want to know how you guys felt about the episode. So let me know in the comments below. Like, what were your favorite moments for the night? But then also, were there moments where you were just kind of like, I don't know. I definitely think that for pacing purposes, they could have just focused on Kate and Toby, then given us a spliced episode going to Kate and Phillip, leading into the wedding, which seems like the wedding is really going to be less about the wedding and more about Rebecca's declining health and perhaps this soon-to-be love interest for Kevin. So yeah, I'm kind of hoping that we're wrapping things up with Kate because it's a little bit like, it just is such a sad, bittersweet note to end things on. And I think all of the flash forwards that they gave us, it revealed so much. Like we know that Madison and Eugene do get married. She gets pregnant again, all of those things. So we know that. We know that Kate is married to Philip, and obviously she's still alive. So all of the like, where is Kate? She's obviously still alive and just like going and coming with her family. We know that Toby ends up getting remarried, so he seemingly is doing better than what the flash forwards have indicated. So really the only mystery we have is where's Miguel, based off next week's episode and the fact that Rebecca is declining into a state where she is stuck in the past and waiting for Jack, leads me to believe that perhaps Miguel is going to have to step to the side as her health declines. His presence could cause a lot of distress for her, and it could mean the end of their relationship. So hopefully that would be a good lead-in to us finally getting Rebecca and Miguel's love story, because we haven't gotten that yet. And we know, of course, that we're going to get, future Kevin soon to be wifey boo. But yeah, so that was my unpopular opinions about tonight's episode. I'm sorry that it was a little bit like of a downer. I feel like this episode was a downer. But I hopefully, I trust the writers. They're going to bounce back with us, and we're going to end this series. I keep wanting to say season, guys. I don't want to let this go. Let this series off on a high note. So if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. If you have subscribed, thank you once again. I appreciate you guys so much. And I'll see you guys next week. Until then, toodles.